Okay,
That might be
so
a source of inspiration.
the other day, and I'm not teaching this today, but I told you I would bring it in. I think it was Paula, someone had asked about the brain and in terms of the masculine and the feminine. So if you look on the right side, you see the feminine, and on the left side, you see the masculine, the glyphs for Venus and Mars. Why? If the right side is supposed to be masculine and the left side is supposed to be feminine, why would it indicate the opposite?
Oh, because it's always the other. I forgot something. That's always the opposite.
Exactly. In the brain, remember,
Versus.
we're crossing over, okay? So, I will teach this eventually. I myself have to get better versed at explaining it. But what happens is that on the right side, these are the aspects of the body parts that are affected when there's trauma. So when someone has, let's say, something with the vagina and there's trauma, we tend to flip over because that body, the brain crisscrosses, we tend to take on the opposite characteristic, gender characteristic. That's why we see so many women that are like masculine, that are like tackling life like men, okay? Because there's trauma and they're protecting. So this is something we'll go into deeper. This is from biodecoding. But it's interesting because when you have someone with an actual physical ailment, then you could see what response the brain had in terms of preservation or in terms of healing. The other interesting thing about this, it's directly related to someone being right-handed or left-handed. So there's a lot of information. So when that person asked, I think it was Paula, about the brain and how it knows or how it changes, sort of hemisphere related to the masculine and the feminine, this is a diagram. So we'll do more of this in the future. But today we're going to continue with the model. So yesterday or Tuesday, you guys did the model with Ms. Rapace. Did you listen to episode 2 or season 2? And did you download the workbook?
Was that the workbook that we gave them?
Yeah, the
Yes,
workbook
I
from
just
the
gave-
website. Did it explain it? Did it make sense? Any questions about the 7 steps? Because we're going to go through them. What about when you heard the practical examples on season 2? Did it help to see, especially the need question? This tends to be the one that most people have difficulty with, okay? Because we have to really think about what need we have to create the chaos or to feel worthless or to be perfectionist or whatnot. Okay, so I kind of want to review some stuff and then I want to kind of break it down and then we'll do some case studies with you guys. So the model again is 7 steps and it's broken into child, teen, and adult. When your client comes in, the first thing that you do is you ask about the mother, father, child triad. You draw the triangle, simple question. What was good and bad about your mom? What was good and bad about your dad when you were little, preferably 0 to 7, and tell me about you as a child from 0 to 7. This activity is where you're going to get the majority of your information that will then make all of this make sense. So this is listening. This is an exercise in listening. I'll give you an example. I had a client and I asked her about her childhood. And the first thing she said was that she had a little brother and started talking about her little brother. What does that mean? How can you interpret that example when I'm asking someone about her childhood and she starts speaking? responding about her brother. What can you put in the child's script? Think.
That she's taking the mother role.
Okay, that could be definitely one of them. Okay, so there could be a maternal role.
Oh, maternal
What
role.
else?
There's an alignment with one parent and the brother aligning with the other.
Well, we're not looking at that with child script. With child script, we're simply saying, if I ask you to tell me about your day, and you start telling me about your girlfriend's day, I'm going to have to interpret or assume. We make assumptions, theories or assumptions, and I would have to be like, why would James answer the question about himself that I pondered with information about another person? So what would make this client tell me about her little brother when I'm asking about her child script? I need you to think.
She may have been replaced by her brother, I know they're into the family nucleus.
Okay, that's an assumption. We're just assuming, we're talking. What else?
She feels like her brother's more important.
Okay, that could absolutely be an assumption. Okay, what else?
Feels like
So have a
parents
little column,
are paying more attention.
have a little column on your notes when you're with clients about assumptions about what they're having here. Remember, you cannot take yourself out of this. So I'm going to go to my story, and each of you are going to go to your story. So these are assumptions. Remember, we're dealing with theories. And theories are just assumptions about the world and how things work. Okay? So it might be that she has a maternal role. What did you say, Aniela?
She was replaced by her brother.
Okay, she could have been replaced, and we do know that he's younger. And James, I think you said something else?
Important.
Oh, like the importance. Like it feels like they're more important.
Okay, brother might be more important. So, as you make your assumptions about what's going on as the child or the client responds to their child's script, now you've already set yourself up to have questions to ask the client. We're not mind reading, we're going to ask. Okay? What ended up happening in this particular client's case, and it's very common when especially a woman responds about a younger brother or sister, is that there was this maternal or protective role. So part of her responsibility was to protect her brother, who from, in this case, her father. The father would come, beat the mother, throw her against the wall, kick her in the stomach, and she would take her little brother and put him in the corner or hide him under the bed. So, in her psyche, when someone is responding about a child script and they put someone in front of them, there is something about protector or someone else is more important. To get to me, you have to bypass this story. You don't have direct access to that person. So because you have these assumptions, you can clearly ask the client, did you have a protective role with your younger brother? Yes. Okay. Who was damaging? Who was whatever it was? She might have already said it in the bad buckets of the father, but she may not have. People get blocked. So even though the mother, father, child triad, the moment that they say the good, bad about the parents in the child script, your job is to start thinking behind the lines. What are they really saying? My number one question when I ask about the child script is tell me about your childhood. And when you have somebody that says, it was perfect, I had a great childhood, you are in for a story. Lies. And this particular client said that. This particular client said that she had an ideal childhood. That her parents lived at home, they provided food, excuse me. And you start listening to their definition of ideal, of what an ideal home is. Because that is what they're going to recreate, or that is what they're going to think is right. But when someone says they have, delusionally, a very good childhood, or it was perfect, you know that that person is like totally delusional. That they have fabricated what I call a snow globe, and your job is to smash that snow globe. Because nobody has a perfect childhood. However, if they're delusional to think that they did, your job is to ask about what made it so perfect. So if you ask, what made your childhood so great? What do you think? How many of you had good things in your childhood? Where did you have good in your childhood?
We always tried to do things together as a family. So even though my father worked very hard all week, he always made sure that we had a picnic at the park, things like that, so that we would be together as a family.
Okay, tell me something positive about your family. There has to be something.
I'm thinking.
Oh. James.
Like the earliest childhood memory that was positive was when I was like 6 or 7, and had a birthday party, and my parents were together. That's it. After they divorced, it was kind of done from there.
So Lily?
I don't remember. I think my mother always with my sister and I,
She was always with you doing what?
for everything.
Just always together. Did you remember?
Yeah, one of my earliest memories. We were all together, like the whole family. We were celebrating something at the park, and there were no fights, no nothing. So it was, I'd say, ideal for us. While it lasted.
Well, what?
While it lasted.
Okay, you're right. So, if someone says their childhood is so great, and you ask them why, you're going to discover that they are going to try to mirror or mimic that great childhood in their life. So, for instance, they're married, or they have children, and their spouse doesn't do what they told you that they're supposed to do. Or their children don't do what their children are supposed to do. That's why now they have a conflict. So you were thrilled when your parents were together at your birthday party. Do you have a child?
Yes.
What do you do for your child when it is his or her birthday?
Birthday party.
Okay, and what? Tell me about it.
Oh, we invite the family. We bring everybody together. We haven't had his birthday party after our new situation, but we kind of just came together as like a Team Julian approach. So I can only imagine that we're going to continue doing the same thing.
Okay, so Julian's your son?
Yes.
Okay, so the birthday's coming up,
In February.
and you're gonna do a Team Julian approach
Yeah.
where you and mom are gonna have a birthday party.
Yes.
So all your crap is gonna be set aside so that you can honor out what happened to you.
Indeed.
Okay. And you, how are you with your children?
Fine, and I always be with us because now it doesn't work. O sea, no trabajo ahorita.
You're with them always. That's all you talk about.
Because
Of course, it's your job, it's what you do.
the baseball thing.
That's right. So even though we have a mother that's like, oh my God, I have to pick up and I have baseball and if they're sick and this and that, inside that little girl is like, yes. I am taking out the great piece of childhood. Ms. Rapace, do you make family time, whether or not it's to go picnic at the park, with your family so you're all together?
Yes, of course.
And when she catered her back to school party, she had food galore and everyone was eating and she didn't eat. We had to force her to sit and eat. And I'm sure that maybe mom was a little like that.
Yes.
Serve, 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 make sure everyone's ready. Okay.
Yeah, that's my grandma.
But the funny thing is that best to school barbecue is never my idea. It's my husband's idea, and he's like, no matter what, we're having this party.
And notice what you said. Your father worked all week, and no matter what, he found time. But I'm sure it was your mother who did the legwork.
Right. Yes.
So it was Dad's idea,
And that's exactly what happened.
but the legwork becomes yours.
Yeah.
And you having this no fights at the park, and you're not confrontational, you don't like arguments, you prefer to be with your headsets to not hear any drama, and you kind of prefer that.
Yeah.
So we take on the positives, even if your childhood was not so great. This started from this example of this client. And so when I'm like, how can you say your childhood was so great when your father would cheat on your mom, kick her in the stomach, beat her up? Her response was, oh, we always had food, we were always provided for, and my dad would let me sleep with them every night. So you find an incongruence. And this is something extremely important that a therapist needs to listen for. Incongruence. What is incongruence?
Problems, conflicts?
But where? How do they
Where?
manifest? How does the conflict manifest?
It's just you have two things and you think they're good, but one is good and one is bad, I think.
Well, no, you're agreeing with both. So that incongruence makes you split in half. So it's like goes back to that duality. So in this particular client's case, great childhood because dad slept with her, there was always food, mom and dad stayed together. However, it was bad because her dad beat mom and cheated. So what does the child do? I told you that the child puts the parents on a what?
Pedestal?
On a pedestal. This is my pedestal. Okay. And not only do we put the parents on a pedestal, we put certain behaviors on a pedestal, and then over here, what do we put over here?
Us?
What?
Us?
No, these are the good
The
behaviors.
bad ones?
The what?
The bad behaviors?
Yes, and this becomes our shadow. This becomes our box. The shit box, yes, okay? And this is all the parts of you that what?
I said I tried to say that, though, sorry.
That you hate and you try to deny. So when a person answers the question about their childhood, they are answering from a pedestal or a child script that is positive. Now you will have people that have had tremendously horrible childhoods. So I found out this weekend, because the news just keeps getting better and better, that one of my dear friends died, 35 years old, and expecting her second grandchild. Like, I mean, her boyfriend waited to tell me for 2 weeks because he's like, you can't handle any more bad news. Like, what do you do? This particular girl had had a really, really rough childhood. Really rough. Like, I won't go into it to respect her, but horrible. But yet, she was consistently like taking care of her parents. Mommy this, daddy this, and it was really interesting because her parents were extremely abusive and her parents did not provide a safe and supportive home. So she had certain behaviors on the pedestal. One of them was the cooking, that the mom, they were Latin, and always cooked. So what we do is these behaviors or the parent or the parental aspects that go in the good bucket, they become the pedestal. That is what your client is looking for in their partner, and that is what your client is obsessing in themselves. So this particular client, the one, we'll call her Terry, that we're talking about, if her father took care of her and cuddled with her at night so she would not have nightmares, and the mom, made food and these positive things, that's what she's going to do. In a partnership, she was going to make food, and perhaps if she has a child, she'll let the child sleep with them in the bed, contrary to what all the researchers say, because we try to repeat the pedestal behaviors. Okay, so one of your jobs is to discover what are the client's pedestal behaviors. Why do you want to discover the client's pedestal behaviors? What is that going to tell you?
That they're,
It's right up there.
What they want to become, like what they want to imitate.
Exactly. What they want to imitate, what their expectation of themselves is. This is the expectation of self or another. Because of course, now here she has a dad that will become a boyfriend or a husband. And now that person also has to live up to her father's pedestal behaviors. Okay, we have to realize this. That is also the other. But it's the expectations of what the person wants to become. And this is their light. Or this is their good. And we all want to be light, and we all want to be good. And we all want to be strong, and we all want to be positive. And nobody wants to look at their shit box. Who likes to look at their shit box? When you take a dump, do you look in the toilet and smell it and analyze it if the pork pieces are in there? Nobody likes it. Do you take it out and go, mm-mm? Do Do you
Well-
smear it all over yourself, like in that movie? What was that movie that they go
I know what you're
into?
talking about. Oh, was it Silence? No, that was not Silence.
With Jason Sudeikis. They end up going into they think it's springs, hot springs, but it turns out to be like
Oh, right.
something, and they're like
With the
thinking
kids,
it's
right?
mud bath and it's shit.
It was a family.
It was a family
The
movie. yeah.
Millers? No.
Oh.
So that
I'm sorry.
is it Vacation?
Is it?
The new Vacation?
Oh, I think it is that one.
Maybe it was the
Yeah,
new
yeah.
Vacation
Yeah,
with
it was
Sudeikis and Christina Applegate.
Mhm.
So we don't do that. When you walk your dog, you take your poopy pad, you pick it up and you throw it in the garbage. No one eats it, no one smells it, no one cares. No one wants shit. This is an exact example of what we do with our psyche. We do not want to acknowledge our shit. And so we take the pedestal behaviors, we put them on the pedestal, and we try to live up to only those pedestal behaviors. So when your client answers the question of the good, you know the pedestal behaviors. What happens when they answer the questions of the bad bucket? What do we know immediately when somebody answers the bad bucket behaviors of the parents?
Is what they don't like about themselves.
It's what they don't like about themselves, and this becomes what? It's on the board.
They're our pedestal behaviors.
No, that's the good. Listen, think. This is easy. If I say, James, I really like that outfit, and you're trying to impress me, then you're gonna wear outfits like that all the time, right? But if you wear something I don't like, and I'll go, yeah, I don't really like when you wear those vests, you're gonna be like, damn, I can't impress her, I'm not gonna wear those vests. Good, bad. You do the good, what do you do with the bad?
Oh, is it shadow?
Shadow.
It's the shadow, you stick it in a box. So he's gonna go to his closet and he's gonna take out all the vests and he's gonna put them in a box. And it's his shit vest box. And that's what we do with our psyche. I have to give you a gazillion examples because I gotta get you to understand it.
You got me now.
You got it? So the thing is,
Never wearing those
that shit vest box is the parts of you you do not like. The thing is, last I checked, every single thing is who? Every person, you gotta learn this.
Oh, person,
Other
place.
Person,
Parents.
place, thing, or situation is your mother or your father. So you can never get rid of your shadow vest shitbox. This is your incongruence. How do I live a life with the good stuff, yet eliminate the bad? And what's the answer?
We can't.
Bye.
You can't!
I was gonna give you an answer, but
Tell me what your answer was gonna
Life
be.
is perfect.
just not wear the vest around you.
Okay, and that's what we do.
But it's
That's
there.
the shadow, it's a hiding.
But it's still there.
So even if you don't do it in front of others, it's still part of you.
Life is
And that's exactly what we do in life. That's exactly what we do in life. That's why you hate animals and you what?
open a show.
You open an animal shelter. You tell me you hate animals, and we're like, yeah, I hate animals. They smell. Blah, blah, blah. But then you go, to another country and you open an animal shelter. Oh, I'm not doing it around her. And isn't that what we did with our parents? Our parents yelled at us for something. I am so cold. Our parents yelled at us for something, and we just didn't do it around them. That's the shadow. And you never stop doing that behavior. And that is what creates your false self. So on a piece of paper right now, write to yourself a true